She buried her father on Monday. By Wednesday, strangers had taken her home. By Friday, her own blood called her a burden. And by Sunday, Adaeze was sleeping on cold concrete with 37 naira, a sick mother, and a brother who had stopped speaking entirely. The entire city of Onitsha watched her fall. They laughed. They mocked. They recorded her shame on their phones like entertainment. But in her lowest moment, her absolute rock bottom, only one hand reached out. A hand covered in dirt. Attached to a man everyone called mad. But what if the madness was only a mask? What if the barefoot man who slept by gutters was hiding a secret powerful enough to shake the entire city? And what if the girl everyone pitied was about to become the woman everyone would envy? What happened after Adaeze married the madman would expose lies, humble the proud, and rewrite destinies in ways no one saw coming. Before we continue this shocking story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell to stay updated with more powerful African stories that will leave you breathless. Now, let us return to the morning Adaeze's life shattered into 1,000 pieces. She was standing in the small pharmacy in Onitsha, arranging bottles of cough syrup on dusty shelves, when her phone rang. The morning had been ordinary customers buying aspirin, the fan creaking overhead, her boss counting yesterday's money. The voice on the other end belonged to her uncle. His words fell like stones into water. "Your father is gone. Heart attack. Come home now." The bottle in Adaeze's hand crashed to the floor. Brown liquid spread across the tiles like blood. She didn't hear her boss shouting. She didn't feel her legs moving. She only remembered running until the sun burned her skin and her chest felt like it would explode. By the time she reached her village in Okuzu, her father was already cold. 3 days after the burial, while Adaeze still wore black and her eyes remained swollen from crying, her uncle gathered the family in the compound. He stood with 2 men she had never seen before, men with hard faces and papers in their hands. "Your father owed money," her uncle announced without any sympathy. "Big money. These men have come to collect." Adaeze's mother collapsed immediately. Her younger brother, Somto, only 15, stood frozen like fear had turned him to stone. "How much?" Adaeze whispered. 4 million naira. The amount struck her like a physical blow. 4 million. Her father, a retired civil servant who counted every kobo before buying bread. 4 million. He signed papers, one of the hard-faced men said, voice cold as metal. Collateral was this house and the land behind it. "We are taking everything." Adaeze screamed. She begged. She fell to her knees in the red dust of the compound where she had learned to walk, where her father had taught her to read, where her childhood lived in every crack and corner. It did not matter. Within 1 week, strangers carried away her father's belongings while laughing. Her mother wept until no tears remained. The family home was padlocked. Her uncle turned his back. "I have my own problems. Find somewhere else." The community watched. Nobody offered shelter. Nobody offered help. Nobody cared. Adaeze moved her mother and brother into a single room on the outskirts of town, paying 3 months' rent with every naira she had ever saved. Then she returned to Onitsha, believing her job at the pharmacy would provide stability. She was wrong. Her boss fired her the day she returned. "You disappeared for 2 weeks without proper notice," he said, counting money and refusing to look at her. "I already replaced you." Adaeze walked out of that pharmacy carrying nothing but her handbag and the weight of a collapsing world. For weeks, she searched for work. She applied everywhere. Shops rejected her, no vacancies. Restaurants claimed, "We have enough staff." A woman at a boutique looked her up and down and laughed, "You don't have the look we need." A man at a construction site offered her another kind of job with eyes that made her stomach turn. When she refused, he spat on the ground. "Pride won't feed you, fine girl." The room rent expired. The landlord gave no extensions. "This is not charity house," he shouted in front of everyone. "Pack your things and get out." Adaeze begged for one more week. Just one. 1 week becomes 1 year. Out. Now. Her mother fell sick from stress and grief. The fever came at night, burning her from inside. Somto hadn't spoken a single word since they lost the house. Trauma had sealed his lips like glue. Adaeze sold the last of her mother's wrappers to buy medicine. Each sale felt like cutting away pieces of her own skin. The beautiful Ankara fabric her mother had worn to church. The lace from her parents' wedding anniversary. Gone. All gone. One evening, after selling the final wrapper for barely enough to buy paracetamol, Adaeze sat on a bench near Akanja Market. The sun was bleeding orange and purple across the sky. Somewhere, a child laughed. Somewhere, a couple argued about money. Somewhere, life continued as if hers hadn't ended. She counted the money in her palm. 37 naira. 37 naira. 3 people to feed. A sick mother who needed medicine. A traumatized brother who needed help. And she had 37 naira. Her stomach growled so loudly that a woman passing by heard it and snickered. "Hunger is catching people these days," she said to her friend, and they both laughed. Adaeze pressed her hand against her stomach, embarrassed that even her hunger had become entertainment for strangers. That was when she saw him. He sat on the ground near a gutter, barefoot, wearing clothes that might have been white many years ago. His beard covered half his face, wild and tangled. His hair was matted like old rope. He muttered words nobody understood, occasionally laughing at jokes only he could hear. People walked past him like he was invisible. Children threw stones. Women warned their daughters, "Madman. Stay away." But Adaeze watched him without fear. Perhaps because she too had become invisible. Perhaps because madness no longer seemed worse than her reality. What happened next would change everything. But not in the way anyone expected. In a city full of sane people, only the madman showed her kindness. What Adaeze witnessed that evening would crack something open inside her chest and set into motion events that would shake Onitsha to its foundations. A young boy, maybe 10 years old, ran past the madman playing with his friends. He tripped on the broken pavement and crashed hard. His knee hit the concrete with a sickening sound. Blood appeared immediately, spreading across his skin like spilled ink. The boy screamed. People gathered quickly. They always did when there was pain to witness. They stood in a circle, whispering, watching, waiting for someone else to act. Whose child is this? Somebody should call his mother. The blood is too much. Oh. But nobody moved. Nobody helped. They just watched. Then the madman stood up. He walked toward the boy slowly, each step deliberate. The crowd parted, some people stepping back in disgust. He knelt beside the child and examined the wound with strange gentleness. From his torn pocket, a pocket that looked like it hadn't held anything valuable in years, he pulled out a handkerchief. Clean. White. Impossibly clean for someone who slept in gutters. He wrapped the boy's knee with the precision of a doctor, his hands steady, his movements sure. "Breathe," he said to the boy, voice clear as morning water. "Pain leaves when you stop fighting it." The boy stopped crying. Just like that. As if the madman's words were medicine. Then the mother appeared. She snatched her son away violently, cursing the madman for touching her child. "Madman! You put your dirty hands on my son." She grabbed sand from the ground and threw it at his face. The crowd laughed. Some clapped. Entertainment was entertainment. The madman returned to his spot by the gutter, expression unchanged, as if cruelty was just whether he had learned to ignore. Adaeze felt something crack inside her chest. That night, she couldn't sleep. She kept seeing the handkerchief clean, white, appearing from nowhere like magic. She kept hearing his voice steady, clear, nothing like madness. She kept remembering how he held that boy's pain with such care, even though the world gave him nothing but contempt. The next morning, she bought akara with her last money. Her last money. The 37 naira that stood between her and complete emptiness. She walked to the market. He was still there, in the same spot, as if he had grown from the ground itself. "Good morning," Adaeze said, holding out the akara wrapped in old newspaper. He looked up. His eyes, she noticed for the first time, were not empty. They were brown, deep, carrying something that looked like surprise. Like nobody had spoken to him as human in so long he'd forgotten the sound. "You are giving food to a madman," he said. Not a question. A statement. "People will talk." "People already talk," Adaeze replied. "I have nothing left for them to take." He accepted the akara, unwrapping it slowly, as if it were gold. "What is your name?" he asked. "Adaeze." He paused, chewing thoughtfully. "Adaeze. Daughter of a king." A small smile crossed his face. "Yet you look like someone whose kingdom has fallen." She laughed, actually laughed. The first real laugh in weeks. It surprised her so much she almost choked on it. "My kingdom didn't just fall," she said. "It crashed and burned. Now I'm just Adaeze, looking for where to sleep tonight." He studied her with an intensity that should have frightened her but somehow didn't. "There is an uncompleted building near the junction," he said finally. "I stay there sometimes. Roof covers one side. Better than the street." Every warning her mother ever gave her screamed inside her head. Every story about dangerous men, about women who disappeared, about trusting strangers. But her mother was sick in a room they couldn't afford. Her brother was broken. The streets had already shown their teeth. And this man, this madman, had shown her the first genuine kindness since her world collapsed. "Show me," she said. The building was exactly as he described, grey blocks stacked without plaster, iron rods pointing at the sky like accusing fingers, one corner with a concrete roof. It looked abandoned, forgotten, like a promise that ran out of money halfway through. Adaeze moved her family there that night. Her mother was too weak to protest. Somto looked at the madman with fear that slowly, over days, melted into confused curiosity. Because the madman was nothing like they expected. He gave them space, sleeping on the far side of the building. Every morning, he brought water from a tap 3 streets away, carrying it in containers that appeared from nowhere. He never complained about the distance. Never asked for thanks. One evening, he cooked beans properly seasoned with onions and seasoning cubes served in a pot that looked too good for their circumstances. "Where did you get this?" Adaeze asked, suspicious and grateful at the same time. "I have resources," he replied with a small smile that almost looked normal. Weeks passed. Adaeze found work washing clothes at a compound nearby. The pay was small, sometimes just 200 naira a day, but it bought curry and soup. Her mother's health improved slowly, color returning to her cheeks. And Somto, quiet, traumatized Somto, began speaking again, mostly to the madman who taught him to play draft with bottle caps and stones. The community noticed their strange arrangement. Whispers became loud conversations. "See the useless girl. Living with a madman like husband and wife. Poverty has scattered her brain completely. Her father must be turning in his grave. Oh, the shame. From pharmacy to madman. What a fall." The mockery followed them everywhere. To the market. To the water tap. Even children sang songs about them. But Adaeze had learned something valuable: words only wound if you stand still long enough to receive them. So she kept moving. One night, as they sat outside the building watching stars appear one by one, she turned to him. "What is your name?" she asked. "Your real name." Silence stretched between them like a held breath. "Tobenna," he finally said. "But that man died years ago." "What killed him?" The word came out heavy, carrying weight she could almost see, betrayal. He stared at his hands as if seeing them for the first time. I built something beautiful. My partners, my own brothers, dismantled it piece by piece. They took everything. My company. My wife. My reputation. They spread lies until nobody believed my truth. Adaeze listened without interrupting, feeling his pain like her own. I did not go mad, he continued, voice steady but sad. I chose to disappear. To become nothing. Because when you are nothing, nobody haunts you. Nobody betrays you. Nobody expects anything. That sounds lonely. It was. He looked at her then, really looked at her. Until you offered me Amara and asked no questions. Something shifted between them that night. Not romance yet, but recognition. Two broken people finding edges that somehow fit together. Months passed. Their strange life developed its own rhythm. Adaeze trimmed his beard one morning, her hands steady even though her heart drummed like rain on zinc. As she cut away the wild hair, she discovered a face that was handsome. Strong. Human. She washed his clothes, discovering they were expensive fabrics hidden under layers of deliberate dirt. Designer labels. Quality cotton. The kind of clothes that cost more than she'd ever held. She told him about her dream of becoming a nurse someday, and he listened like her words were worth memorizing. He protected her when drunk men wandered too close to the building at night, standing at the entrance with a presence that made them think twice. When her mother's fever returned, he stayed awake for 3 days straight, placing wet cloths on her forehead, whispering prayers she didn't know he knew. Love grew between them like grass through concrete, slowly, impossibly, but undeniably real. One evening, as the sun painted the sky orange and purple, Adaeze surprised herself. "Marry me," she said. The words hung in the air like a challenge to the universe itself. Tobenna stared at her like she had just asked him to pluck the moon from the sky. "You want to marry a madman?" His voice cracked on the last word. "The whole town will crucify you." "The whole town already watches me suffer and does nothing," Adaeze said, her voice stronger than she felt. "Their opinion costs me nothing." "Adaeze, you don't know. I know you make me feel safe. I know you treat my family like your own. I know that when I imagine tomorrow, you are standing in it." She held his rough hands, feeling the calluses, the dirt, the gentleness underneath it all. "I know enough." He closed his eyes, and she saw something that looked like tears trying to escape. "If you marry me," he whispered, "your life will change in ways you cannot imagine. Let it change." They married 3 days later in the uncompleted building. A pastor Tobenna knew from somewhere she didn't ask where officiated. Her mother cried tears of joy mixed with confusion. Somto smiled for the first time since their father died. The ceremony was simple. Beautiful. Real. But the mockery that followed was vicious. She has finally gone mad herself. Marrying a madman like it's an achievement. Watch, she will come begging when hunger finishes this madness. From pharmacy girl to madman's wife. What a destiny. The ridicule followed them through the market. Women crossed to the other side when they passed. Men laughed openly, some even taking photos to share on WhatsApp groups. Children threw stones and ran away giggling. Adaeze walked with her head high. Tobenna beside her. Their hands linked like defiance made flesh. 3 months passed this way. 3 months of mockery, of struggle, of quiet love in their broken building. Then the cars arrived. It was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. Adaeze was washing clothes outside. Her mother was sleeping. Somto was playing draft with Tobenna. The sound came first: engines. Expensive engines. The kind that purred instead of coughed. 3 black SUVs with tinted windows rolled into their street, stopping directly outside the uncompleted building. The entire neighborhood came out to watch. SUVs like this meant either very good news or very bad news. Men in black suits emerged, their faces serious, their movements coordinated like a military operation. Adaeze's heart stopped. Kidnappers. It had to be kidnappers. Or people her father owed money to. Or. One man stepped forward, saw Tobenna, and immediately bowed. Ogre, we have been searching for years. The street went silent. Even the wind seemed to pause. Your brother's case is finally in court, the man continued, his voice respectful, almost reverent. The evidence you hid has surfaced. Everything they stole, the company, the properties, the accounts, the court is returning it all. Adaeze couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Couldn't understand. Tobenna stood slowly, like a king remembering his throne. How did you find me? Your wife, sir. Someone posted a video of your wedding. Your face was visible. Our facial recognition software flagged it yesterday. Adaeze turned to Tobenna, no, to the stranger wearing Tobenna's face. Who are you? She breathed out. He took her trembling hands gently, his eyes clear for the first time since she'd known him. My name is Tobenna Maleki Okonkwo. Before my brothers destroyed me, I built Okonkwo Industries. Real estate. Oil. Shipping. He paused, letting the word sink in. I am worth more money than this entire town has ever seen. The ground tilted. The sky spun. Reality cracked. You knew, she said. All this time, you knew. I needed to know if anyone could love me as nothing. I found you, Adaeze. And you loved me when I had nothing to offer but a dirty handkerchief and a corner in an unfinished building. The news spread through Onitsha like wildfire in Harmattan season. The madman was a billionaire. The madman owned Okonkwo Industries. The madman was Tobenna Maleki Okonkwo. 3 months later, they planned a wedding that would shut down the entire city. Not because Tobenna wanted to show off but because Adaeze deserved to be seen. Let them come, she said when discussing the guest list. Let every single person who mocked us come and watch. The morning of the wedding, Onitsha woke up different. Roads were blocked. Security was everywhere. Helicopters circled overhead. The kind of wedding that made the news. And they came. Oh, they all came. Her uncle who had thrown them out. He arrived early, wearing his best clothes, telling everyone how he always knew Adaeze was special and how he supported her through everything. Her former boss from the pharmacy. He sent an expensive gift with a note begging for forgiveness. The market women who had mocked her poverty. They prostrated when they saw her, calling her madam and our wife. The men who had propositioned her when she was desperate. Security wouldn't even let them pass the first gate. The landlord who had evicted them. He stood in the crowd, his face a mixture of regret and shock. When Adaeze stepped out of the car, wearing a dress that cost more than her father's stolen house, wearing diamonds that caught the light like captured stars, the entire crowd went silent. She didn't look proud. She didn't look arrogant. She looked peaceful. She walked down that aisle past the uncle who betrayed her, past the boss who fired her, past the women who mocked her, past everyone who had watched her suffer and done nothing. Some cried openly. One woman fell to her knees weeping. Others looked away in shame. Adaeze didn't smile at them. Didn't frown. She simply walked. Her mother sat in the front row, healthy now, glowing with pride. Somto stood as groomsman, tall and confident, the trauma finally lifted from his shoulders. When Tobenna took her hands at the altar, his eyes were wet with tears. You loved me when my name was a joke, he said in his vows. When my clothes repelled respect. When my heart was buried. I vow to spend the rest of my life making sure the world sees you the way you saw me, as worthy of love. Adaeze's voice was steady when she spoke her vows. I loved you when loving you cost me everything. When choosing you meant being alone. I vow to never forget where we came from, even as we go where we're going. That evening, as fireworks exploded over Onitsha, Adaeze leaned close to her husband. I would have married you if you remained mad forever, she whispered. I know, Tobenna replied, tears rolling down his face. That's why you're the only one standing here. The city of Onitsha learned something that day: never mock anyone's present condition, because you don't know their hidden story. The person you dismiss today might be the blessing you desperately need tomorrow. And real love doesn't ask for proof before it commits. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to Folktales by Amara. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Would you have made Adaeze's choice?